Hello, this is Bill Bullard with R-CALF USA, the voice of the independent cattle producer in the United States of America. Well, in the late 1990s and 2000s, U.S. leaders moved aggressively to accelerate global governance, the establishment of international governing bodies that would regulate international commerce. The United Nations was the overarching international body to help achieve this objective, and in 1995, the World Trade Organization was formed in Geneva, Switzerland, to achieve this objective, and countries like the United States clamored to conform. Recall, this is why the U.S. lowered its food safety standards for imported beef and cattle. It said exporting countries were no longer required to have food safety systems at least equal to that of the United States. And it said the U.S. would cease doing monthly inspections of foreign meatpacking plants, and instead, it began relying on mostly assurances from foreign governments that they weren't cutting food safety corners. The U.S. also said it would no longer restrict imported beef from countries with major disease or pest outbreaks if that country asserted that the outbreak was contained within a specific region. This was known as regionalization. So then in the early 2000s, the World Organization for Animal Health, known as the OIE, and this is tied to the World Trade Organization, the OIE began efforts to regulate not just international trade, but domestic livestock production practices as well. One of the major pushes of the World Organization for Animal Health is for a global system of animal identification. All countries were instructed to begin establishing national animal identification systems, and animal disease-related trade standards began to incorporate the establishment of an animal identification system as a means to achieve a favorable global trade rating. In other words, if a country had a national animal identification system, then it could use that system to win a trade case at the World Trade Organization if a country were to impose import restrictions due to an animal disease outbreak. But this sounds very good and a good idea until you step back and ask the fundamental question. If we're a sovereign nation that has agreed to be governed by our own U.S. Constitution and our elected form of government, why are we acquiescing to an unelected and unappointed international tribunal to dictate production standards on our U.S. farms and ranches? Now, the U.S. Department of Agriculture has bought into this global governance scheme, hook, line, and sinker, and it's now hard at work to force U.S. cattle producers to comply with the directive that the U.S. adopt a national animal identification system that complies with the global edict of the World Organization for Animal Health. Now, Americans flatly rejected the USDA's efforts in early 2000s to require all cattle producers to register their premises with the federal government, to identify each of their animals with an electronic identification ear tag, to record for the government every movement of each of their animals throughout their animal's lifetime, and to purchase the necessary electronics to accomplish this recording of animal movements. Producers correctly recognized this was government overreach for the government to interfere with private farming and ranching businesses through such unprecedented government regulations. But ear tag companies who stand to earn billions by selling millions of new electronic ear tags each year have been persistent cheerleaders for the effort, and unless we do something to stop them, they will win this issue, and U.S. cattle producers will be under the thumb of a new and costly regulatory burden. In April, the USDA issued a fact sheet stating that at the end of the year, the USDA will no longer provide the metal ear tags that the industry has used successfully to control and eradicate diseases such as brucellosis and tuberculosis in the U.S. cattle herd. Then, by January 2021, cattle producers and veterinarians will be prohibited from applying these time-tested metal ear tags on their cattle. And then, as early as January of 2023, all adult cattle in interstate commerce will be required to use the more costly electronic identification ear tag, and all cattle that already have metal ear tags in the ears will have to have those ear tags removed and replaced with the more costly electronic identification system. So if you're an electronic ear tag manufacturer, you're elated by the hand of government that is about to line your pockets. But if you're an American producer who believes in a free market economy with limited government intrusion, you may want to stand up and stop this overreach before it's too late. With that, we're out of time. We hope you have a productive week. Thank you and goodbye.